Is Satan and Lucifer the same thing, the same entity?
Well, I always say he started out as Lucifer, and then he fell, and then he became Satan. In fact, a Catholic, there's now a lot of videos on YouTube of Catholic exorcists. That's the only place where Catholicism is really getting popular because, we have such a sinister view of things. We want to learn about demons. And so, wow, exorcists, wow, that's really, really hip. So the one exorcist said, he encountered in the course of an exorcism a demon that he asked, are you Satan? Are you Lucifer? And he said, I used to be called that, but I can't be called that anymore because Lucifer is the bearer of light, So whether angels can fall, there's a way in which I think that's true. That there's the Christian, the idea that a very high spiritual function can be veiled and perverted and end up to become an inverted version of itself and dedicated to evil. I think that can happen. Intelligence can fall, and become basically evil. So if that's true, then you can say in a certain sense that Lucifer could fall and become Satan.
What is the great chain of being? You mentioned in your book, the divine, the spirit, and I've got it open here in front of me, actually, the psyche. Can you explain the great chain of being?
Well, see, we don't like the term hierarchy nowadays because hierarchy seems, we think of it only in social terms. We say that people who speak for hierarchy are elitists and all of this. But the fact is that the universal manifestation of God that we call the cosmos, which is not just the material cosmos, but everything, the psychic, the spiritual, it's arranged hierarchically. If you don't have a sense of hierarchy, higher and lower worlds, which is what the great chain of being is, then you put everything on the same level. If you put everything on the same level, things are incompatible. And so once again, you have conflict between attitudes, beliefs, beings, if you will, who are all falsely placed on the same level. If you let them be a hierarchy, then there is peace, because every level, is in harmony with its own level and in relationship to a higher level from which it draws life and guidance, and in relationship to a lower level to which it provides guidance and help and providence. And it's a harmonious cosmos of order. So the great chain of being goes something like this. Well, you would say the highest point, let's look at it as a pyramid, would be what is called beyond being. This is where, the absolute reality is beyond form, and it can't even be said to be if that means it is opposed to something which is non-being. It's beyond the pairs of opposites, and it's even beyond the final two pairs of opposites, being and non-being. So, it's an inconceivable, absolute, divine essence that, it can be indicated, but it can't be encompassed or understood. That manifests as being, because if there were not being, we would never even be able to talk about non-being. You have to be in order to know. And so perhaps being is where God begins to become a personal God. And we don't like the idea of a personal God. We think, that's anthropomorphic. God is a great impersonal force, not some guy, We don't understand, once again, what a human being is. We don't understand that that personhood is profound. And, that it's higher than material forces. and higher than even the rudimentary personhood of animals. It's something that is inherently divine. We think of a person as, well, it's all my ideas about myself plus everybody else's ideas about me, and that's a person. And then we look at that and we say, well, that's just an ego, and I want to get beyond that to the impersonal thing, which doesn't have all that baggage. Well, that's personhood opens up infinitely behind, as you might say, to pure being and beyond being. Personhood is the integral face of the absolute mystery. And that's what we forgot that one because we don't know what a human being is. So personhood is a very high thing. But and then there's personhood as turned toward manifestation, or as beginning to create world after world beyond that. This is the logos. The logos is the face of the absolute turned toward creation, creating everything by its divine speech, if you will. So as everything gets created, the first things that are created are, let's say, the archangels, the great eternal beings, and then you have a celestial world composed of them. And then that world emanates a still lower world, which is the psychic world, which is, partly what Carl Jung was looking at the collective unconscious. And it's the Alam al-Khayal, the world of imagination, the intermediary plane, the astral plane, if you will. And that emanates a subtle material plane, which is not quite physical like the world we see through our five senses, but it's beginning to be materialized. That's pretty much the realm of the jinn, and the realm that the UFOs pop out from, because that's just next door to our reality. And then the next is the material plane, as is reported by the five senses. And it may go lower than that. And when it goes lower than that, you get into problems, because you get into subtle worlds, which are less material, but also less integrated and filled with very dark energies. This is what Rene Guenon called the infrapsychic domain. So if you have a hierarchical view of reality, you can place everything, including religion, prophecy, and the paranormal, the psychic dimension, and the dimension of subtle energies, vital energies, like bioplasma or orgone, or whatever those energies that
Right.
have to do with biological life, but are subtler than the material. And the material, both in terms of the structure of the universe and of the human body and of society and history, you put all these on their own levels and see how they relate, and there's room for everything. Whereas if you don't have a hierarchical view, everything's crowded into one level and it becomes chaotic, contradictory, and violent. So you need the great chain of being to give the creative action of God room to breathe, and room, to create a universe where everything has a place. So.